Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. David Nyika of New Zealand, his nickname is the Nice Guy. And unfortunately for him, Nice Guys did not finish first in this instance because he got knocked out, and I mean flat, unconscious, by Jai Opetaia in 4 rounds. And Nyika, I mean, he gave it everything. He's 6'6". He's an orthodox fighter, or he's listed as orthodox, but he was switch hitting a little bit in this fight for as long as it lasted. Maybe trying to give Opetaia, who is a southpaw, something to think about. And he came out, you know, very tall, very, very big for cruiserweight. But from the word go, to me, he looked like an inexperienced fighter at that level. And the one thing that Opetaia isn't is inexperienced, because he's, apart from all his other fights, he's had 2 12-round distance fights with Maris Bradis, who's no one's mug. Even though he was at quite an advanced age, he gave Opetaia plenty to think about, busted his jaw in 2 places in the first fight, and in the last third of their rematch actually came on pretty strong and made Opetaia think, made him work. So Opetaia, he's been there, he's used to it. He's used to fighting through adversity, and he is a very, very good fighter, an extremely good cruiserweight, Opetaia. So for Nyika to come in, 3 weeks' notice, I don't think he's even been beyond 5 rounds in his career prior to this. He's looking at a 12-rounder against a person who I think is the best cruiserweight in the world. I mean, Zurdo Ramirez will have something to say about that, but I would pick Opetaia as the premier cruiserweight. Nyika just had too much to do, and he looked inexperienced. He looked like a guy who thought, okay, I've got 12 rounds. I think I can do it, but can I do it against this guy? I'm going to have to use my physical strength. So he was trying to get in close. He had quite a high guard, Nyika. Opetaia seemed quite happy to go toe-to-toe, have a little punch-up with him. There weren't a lot of jabbing, to put it mildly. There were lots of big hooks. Nyika wasn't letting his hands go as much as he should have done in the first and second rounds, although that's probably easier said than done if you've got Opetaia in front of you. Opetaia was letting his hands go. From the opening bell, he was very aggressive, loading up with big punches, having a good old punch up, good old bit of phone booth warfare. And when he did land on Nyika took it well. He took the punches well. First round belonged to Opetaia. Nyika wasn't shaken at all. It's fine. Second round, pretty much more of the same, really. Again, this wasn't boxing, not really. There was no jabbing, there was no movement. But I did notice as early as the second round that Nyika was sort of caught in that no man's land occasionally, which looked a bit ominous, because even though he had a high guard, you know, if there's that gap between you and he was sort of almost like, well, shall I use my long levers or shall I get in close and use my strength and try and maul him and smother him and put the weight on him? I mean, they're the same weight, but with those long limbs, you can maybe lean on him, tie him up. And he didn't seem to quite know exactly what he wanted to do. Whereas Opetaia, it was a case of, if you stand off me, I'll time you perfectly, because Opetaia very much with the quicker fists. And he knows he can use up gulps of energy early on because he knows he can do 12 rounds. He's got a good engine. Nyika was thinking, well, probably can I do this? When should I let my punches go? How quickly should I empty the gas tank? How hard should I work for each minute of each round? This is 12 rounds. This is 36 minutes of fighting against Jai Opetaia, who is arguably the best cruiserweight in the world and is certainly the best opponent by several universes that I've ever faced. What do I do? But he was trying to use his physicality. There was just that gap there, and I thought, Opetaia's timing him, and Opetaia started to land some very good body punches as well. He wasn't neglecting the body. Nyika, I thought, was a little bit. Now, Nyika did catch Opetaia with a couple of punches. I don't know if it was at the end of the second or the third round. It might have been the second round. He did catch Opetaia with a nice punch towards the end of the round, last 5-10 seconds. And it got Opetaia's attention. It made him think. He didn't buzz him, but you could see from his body language that he was thinking, oh, okay. Maybe the guy can hit hard. Nyika in 10 wins has 9 KOs against far, far lower opposition. No draws. This was his first defeat, this knockout. Third round, Nyika landed. There was one particular punch he landed. I can't remember what it was. I know he landed a right hand at one point. Was that the second or the third round? Which sort of almost spun Opetaia's head, to the side, almost like a 45-degree angle, But Opetaia took it well. We know he can take a good wallop. And he continued with the bodywork as well, Opetaia, which was good. I thought, obviously if you've got a guy that big in front of you, you might as well chop him down. And one of the Australian commentators said, death by 1,000 cuts. He wasn't really looking to, even though he was loading up Opetaia, definitely loading up with punches, he wasn't looking to blast the guy out early. He was quite happy to just go the rounds and beat him up and then knock him out, But again, it wasn't a case of outboxing him because there wasn't really a lot of boxing going on. Well, Nyika in the fourth round was tagged, and he was caught with, we've got southpaw, so it was a right hand from Opetaia, and then there was a sort of left uppercut come hook, which put Nyika down on his backside. He got up very quickly with a bloody nose, very quickly. Again, possibly a sign of inexperience. Walked around the ring, no problem. He was conscious, but then Opetaia comes after him. We know what's on the menu from this point on. Now Opetaia landed around the corner sort of hook past the protecting, or rather loosely protecting fist of Nyika, and caught him on the temple. And he sort of staggered sideways into the ropes and put his left hand up to protect himself, but his right arm was, it was tagged on the rope, if I remember rightly. So he's got this sort of pose. And then it gives Opetaia, there's no real defence there, so it gives Opetaia a free wallop, and Opetaia lands a backhand left from a southpaw stance, which absolutely poleaxes Nyika. Falls flat on his back by the bottom rope. The referee waves it off, and Nyika is out. And he was out for 4 or 5 minutes, Eventually he sits up, then eventually he stands up, seems to be okay. They're going to have taken him to hospital to have a full scan. He was helped down, out of the ring, wasn't interviewed afterwards. And it's just too much too soon for David Nyika. He showed some ability. He showed reasonable power. He didn't look like a bad fighter to me, but way too much too soon. Too much too young. I mean, he's 29 years old, so he's not chronologically young, but in fistic terms, he's way behind Opetaia. Not just in terms of talent, but in terms of experience, the big stage, traveling, quality of opposition. I mean, he has fought in Riyadh, Nyika. He fought there last year, actually, on one of the undercards. But all of his other fights have been against nondescript opposition in New Zealand. Whereas Opetaia, world title fights, been to Riyadh several times, fought in Britain, fought Jordan Thompson at Wembley. He really has been around the houses. And afterwards, this was, of course, a homecoming for Opetaia, but they asked him, who do you want? And, of course, he said, I'll have Zurdo Ramirez. I'm after you. You've all got my belts. I want him. I wouldn't put money against him picking him up either. He still looks kind of quite small for a cruiserweight, 6'2". He wants to go to heavyweight eventually. I mean, I don't know. I said in my preview, I said he stopped Nyika in 6 rounds. This was 4. But I also commented about even though this is his 27th win now with 21 KOs, can he translate to heavyweight? Even though he's fast and smaller man, and I'm not convinced. I think he needs to. If I was him, I'd unify at cruiserweight, become undisputed, and then maybe have a think about heavyweight, maybe. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, what did you think of this fight? Comments below. Bit too much for Nyika, wasn't it? On all fronts, he was on a hiding to nothing, and probably the best he could have hoped for was to take Opetaia into the later rounds and maybe sting him, maybe hurt him a bit, win a few rounds. I don't think he was ever going to win this fight really, unless it really was a Hail Mary punch. But unfortunately, he couldn't get past the 4th round. But leave your comments below if you've got any. What would you like to see Opetaia do next? I'm assuming you want to see him in unifications, go for the undisputed title. He's also got the Ring Magazine belt as well as the IBF cruiserweight belt. But let me know what you think. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you're new and support the channel. Thank you very much. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and bye for now.